bastard down! Keeping mad! I'll cover you!
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever it is for you. Welcome back to a Division 2 video. And yes, I am back again. The Defender Drone 2.0 build, 100% damage reduction, as you saw just in the gameplay. Of course, we need to work a little bit for it, but this build is just the perfect hybrid setup that you can go for. We switched a few things around versus the last Defender drone build, and this is getting even more powerful. And yes, even with the season modifiers, you can keep this up 100% of the time. I ran through title almost keeping my Defender drone up 100% of the time and just shredding through everybody. There of course are a few things to do, but it is a beautiful, beautiful combination, especially with the modifiers active. And don't worry, yes, you are still 100% protected without the modifiers, but it's gonna be a lot easier with the modifiers. So most of the gameplay that you see right now, except for the intro, are with the modifiers, as I feel like this build shines the best. But again, it can still work without the modifiers, as you saw in the intro. And again, this is a hybrid skill damage build. And we almost have 11 cores on this hybrid build, rocking 6 yellows, 4.5 reds, and of course that blue core keeps you alive and of course lets you shred through everybody. And you can do this however you like. This is of course always a template, and copy the build, but if you like a different weapon better, if you like a different setup better, of course change it however you like to play. Because this is my playstyle, because this Defender drone works well with my playstyle, doesn't mean it works for you. So make sure to see this as a template. But enough intro, enough gameplay. Let's dive right into the build and let me showcase you what we've been using. Starting of course with our specialization. We are using a technician specialization. Why? Because I am utilizing a flat line, so I want that linked laser pointer, and of course it gives us that extra skill core. Then jumping over to the weapons, I am using the Lexington. This is on level 27 expertise, so we're gaining an extra 20% of weapon damage. We have damage to target out of cover on there, and I chose to go for flatline like I already said, and this amplifies your weapon damage by 15% to pulsed enemies. I of course went for the linked laser pointer, twice the critical hit chance, and an extra rounds as the mods on here. And again, you can choose whatever you like. You could also go for killer or whatever talent you prefer. The combination with flatline and then the seasonal modifiers is just great, as we at the same moment can set people on fire, what gives us another extra survivability. And that's why I prefer to go for flatline and instantly giving me that damage whenever I aim at somebody. The secondary weapon will be the M1A, and this is the little trick within keeping our Defender drone up 100% damage reduction, and that is because of Future Perfect. Weapon kills grants a 1 skill tier for 15 seconds and stacks up to 3 times. Weapon kills at skill tier 6 grant overcharge for 15 seconds, and the overcharge cooldown is 90 seconds. So this will give you an overcharge on your drone, and your drone will be 100% protecting you throughout this overcharge. The beautiful thing now is, if you play this with the season, you want to run in, Fire up your overdrive so you are at those max stacks. Your drone will be overcharged. Shoot everybody down. And when we run to the next area, of course, that momentum is going to decay and we will not be in unstoppable anymore, what will give us that overcharge for our drone. But now the M1A comes in play. You run into the next area, you shoot one of the guys with your M1A. Of course, that extra overcharge steps in for 15 seconds. You are unkillable for 15 seconds as long as that drone is, of course, protecting you. Take out everybody that you see and you will instantly get into your unstoppable from your rogue momentum again. You have 15 seconds-ish to take out everybody, get yourself into that unstoppable again, and then overcharge yourself again. Use your MOA for that future perfect to overcharge yourself for 15 seconds to get up to those stacks of unstoppable. It is so great. And just like I mentioned, and I already showed you, we can almost keep this up 100% of the time while running through Tidal Basin. But let's jump over to the whole overview of the build. Enough about the guns, but I wanted to give you some tips and tricks how this exactly works, especially with that future perfect of that M1A on there. Then this is the whole overview of the build. And it is a bit harder to get together because all of these pieces you need to find with the right connections to it. We are using two pieces of Brazos, the mask and the holster. Why are we using Brazos? Because this will give us skill haste, but most importantly, the second one will activate that skill tier for us. Everything rolled to critical hit chance and critical hit damages, so we could roll that armor core away for weapon damage. We did exactly the same for the holster, and you already guessed which holster it is. Yes, it is the Picaros. That's why I said kinda 10.5, although it's 10.75 better said, as this is not 15% weapon damage anymore, but it is 10. We of course went for critical hit damage, and because we have that weapon damage on there, we rolled another skill tier. So this Brazos combination of these two pieces will give us 2 skill tiers and almost 2 weapon damage cores. Then jumping over to the other pieces, and that is going to be Palisade. Why Palisade? 10% armor on kill, plus 60% health, but again, that third one will activate a skill tier. I went for Palisade, everything, again, with critical hit chance and critical hit damage. You need to find it this way, because Palisade also comes with an armor core, so you need to roll that weapon damage over it. I went for Glass Cannon, and yes, this is a very dangerous talent, because we amplify the damage that we take by 50% as well, but we do an amplification damage of 25% to everybody as well. And for the craziest reason, this works. I thought that Glass Cannon, of course, would take out our drone, but our drone will not receive extra amplified damage throughout Glass Cannon. So we are running around with Glass Cannon, 100% defended, just shredding through everyone. You can find this chess piece on a few different ways. Of course, with Spotter on there, that would help you out as well, and or Obliterate. But I found it with Glass Cannon. It is a harder chest to find, and this is the perfect combination. Doing that damage while still being protected and having Glass Cannon activated. Then for the other two pieces, my gloves, Palisade again, critical hit chance, critical hit damage, so I can roll that weapon damage over the armor core. And for the knee pads, we went for a skill core instead of the weapon damage, and again, critical hit chance and critical hit damage. And that's pretty much the whole overview of the build, next to, of course, my Memento backpack. This will give us all of the core attributes, weapon damage, armor, and skill tier. We went for a critical hit chance mod on there, and of course, kill confirmed. This will give us, after picking up 30 stacks, 30% weapon damage, 30% skill efficiency, what is everything within the skill tree that you can roll on your gear. And of course the last one, 3% arm regeneration. And this all activates, like I said, when we pick up 30 stacks. So pretty damn quick. And that's the whole overview of the build. And of course, what are we rocking with? As we're rocking with the Specialization, the Technician, we are using the Artificer Hive, as this will keep our drone alive. As you can see, the skill repair is 77%, so every time one of the charges flies through your drone, it will be repaired for 77%, keeping your drone alive all the time. And then of course, going over the drone, this is our Defender drone. It has a 5.6 million health on this build. It has a damage reduction of 66.5% on my setup, but I have it on expertise 27. You do not, I repeat, you do not have to expertise your drone, because when we overcharge, we're gaining an extra 60% damage reduction. And if you don't have any expertise on this build, the damage reduction will already be around 54%, depending, of course, on your mods. As on the mods, we can, of course, go for an extra damage reduction. I went for 6%, I went for 10% health, and I went for 7.5% duration as the mods on there. And that's pretty much the whole overview of the build. Again, you do not have to expertise it to get to that 100% when you overcharge yourself. Well, but when you lose overcharge here and there, it can be nice to at least already have that 66.5% instead of dropping down to that 50-ish. And that is the build, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go over to the stats real quick. We have a 56% critical hit chance, a 170% critical hit damage, and that's pretty much it. Everything else I already showed you, and this is my Defender Drone 2.0 build. 100% protected, especially with this season active. I hope you enjoyed it, flying through this build, and so many people have been asking about this, especially with this season. And now let's go over the modifiers that I was utilizing this build. I like the overdrive the most as the active modifier, not because it gives us those bonuses for 10 seconds, but because it pushes us all the way to the max of our rogue momentum, and it's a lot easier to then to keep up. And of course, throughout this build, getting to that overcharge, to that unstoppable, to give us that 100% damage reduction. Then for my passives, I chose to go for the Reaper Scan, I chose to go for Microwave Calls, and I chose to go for Critical Momentum. Why these three? Because critical hits have a 40% chance to grant 1% momentum for the critical momentum. Easier to keep up your momentum. The higher your rogue momentum is, the easier it is to get your ass into unstoppable. And then of course, overcharging your drone. And then of course for the next one, Microwave Calls. Up to 4 enemies affected by pulse now receive a burn status effect. You gain 5% bonus momentum for every affected hostile. And this is why I'm personally using Flatline and going for that linked laser pointer, because that linked laser pointer will also work for you. It will not always burn everybody, but when you burn people, you will get that extra 5% bonus momentum, what helps, again, just like our critical momentum, to keep up our rogue momentum status. And of course, it gives you an extra survivability as they are on fire and you could just beam them down. Same thing for our Reaper Scan. Scan enemies with a pulse have a 25% chance to receive a blacklist mark. And I'm still a little bit on the fence if this really works, the yes or the no, but if I don't equip this, I see a lot less blacklisted enemies, and of course, we all know those blacklisted enemies give us more rogue momentum, so again, it's easier to keep up all the way up to unstoppable. But that's pretty much it. This is, of course, again, the whole overview of the build. Have so much fun with it. It will probably take you a minute to get all together, as you need to find the perfect rolls. You can of course switch that Brazos and that Palisade around. Doesn't matter where you put all those pieces, except for the holster and the backpack. Those are the only spots you cannot change it around. If you want to go for a Brazos chest piece and then go for a Palisade mask, all is possible, but I would recommend you, if you're trying to get that chest piece, go for Palisade. And why? Because if we go over to browsers, it will give us skill tier and of course skill haste and maybe even a magazine size at 3 of the brand set bonus. But that extra armor on kill definitely comes in clutch on most of the builds, so I would recommend always try to find a chest piece on Palisade. And that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed yourself. A little bit longer video because I wanted to jump in all of the details with of course the rogue momentum without, as you saw in the first few clips at the start, that is without the rogue momentum active. And after that I of course showed you a bunch of gameplay clips and running through title. I hope you enjoyed yourself. Let me know in the comments down below what you like about this build. What would you change around this build? And were you also surprised that glass cannon works? Hit me up in the comments down below, and thank you very much for sticking until the end. Like the video if you liked the video or helped you out in any way or form. And of course, if you're new here and or you want to be updated by the Division 2, make sure to hit that subscribe button as well. And I will see you in the next one. Pure Prime out.